since there's such a high demand to be a slave, and you get paid pennies, there was an article written, and all these types of articles have always done. I remember like on job finder type of things, they tell you the best ways to go about getting a job, how to react to an interview, and we've all been on interviews before. I don't know if you have, Steve.
Of course.
Steve is a crust. In those aspects, this particular article, it caught my eye because I think these thoughts have run through everyone's mind when they're going to an interview. Certain things that you should or shouldn't do. These are the 4 lies that they say you shouldn't tell an interviewer. The first one is, where do you live? At least in the area, the area where you are for the job. If you say you live there, it could kind of run against you when they find out later that you don't live there.
Yeah. So is this as in like if you live in like a nicer part of your city, or if you live in like a whole other part of the country?
I think it's saying that if you live in New York but you're interviewing for a job in LA, don't pretend you live in LA.
Oh.
Yeah. Which is like the most obvious thing in the world. Why would you do that?
Well, there's always reasons for these lies. There's a good reason for each one of these lies. It's just that's why they're telling you not to do it. You could think they're going to go, oh, now there's going to be the expense of this person moving. Do they really want to leave? It's easier if I just hire someone who's already here. I mean, there's a reason to have.
Or if they assume you're going to have some attitude because you're from New York or LA or something.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point because often employers do pay for relocation expenses. Right. When John Iderola moved here from Phoenix, we paid for a small portion of his relocation expenses because that's how we roll here at TYT.
He's emphasizing a small portion.
But a big corporation often they don't care if the person is qualified, is the best candidate. They'll pay the $7,000 to move them across country if they have to.
But you could see, especially if you really want the job, you don't want to add any costs to hiring you.
Right, but I think rather than lying about it, what you should do is you should say, I'm going to move here anyway. Mm-hmm. Or something along those lines, right?
I'm already set to be moving.
Yeah, I'm going to move here anyway because my family relocated here. Whatever it may be. If you're going to lie intelligently. Or you can just say, well, I have no intention of moving there because I live in LA, not in New York. However, I love this job so much that I'm willing to make that sacrifice for you. Then it comes off better.
That's the way you could go to.
The second one I think is the hardest one to really figure out. This is one I always had to fight with my own head over was how much did you make or how much you're expecting? I hated that question actually. It's like, what do you expect to make? I'm like, sure, how much are you paying?
Yeah.
Don't ask me how much. You don't want to go too high, of course, because you don't want them to go, oh, this guy, what does he want? This much from us? You don't want to go too low, so they say, oh, we got a surf.
This chump, yeah.
We got somebody.
Do you buckle boots?
Exactly. So it's the worst question. So I mean, to tell the truth, say everyone's trying to get a step up. But to tell the truth, you're kind of screwed on that. But I mean, at least in this particular article, it says they can always ask you copies of your W-2s before, which I've never heard of anyone doing. At least I've never experienced that having to happen. But so this is the one where I was always like, hell yeah, I'm going to lie on this. I mean, why not?
My advice on this issue is as follows. You shouldn't say, well, I want $50,000 or I want $100,000, whatever it may be. You should let the employer throw out the number first, obvious. But what you should say is, it's less important to me what I make right away. What's more important to me is that if I do well, there's opportunities for growth. Both in terms of compensation and in terms of moving up through the ranks. And I think that communicates the message that you are looking ahead, that you are planning ahead, and that you are ambitious enough and self-confident enough to believe in yourself down the road rather than trying to cash out as much as you can at that moment.
Well, yeah, and if they do give you a decent salary, it's not like you're just gonna then like lay back and not work hard because you're like, sweet, I got this great deal now. I don't need to work at all.
How do you force the employer to give the number first? Because the thing, sometimes that's just the question on the damn application. Sometimes it's what is your expected salary? What do you want to make? And you're like, ugh. I just usually write in and go, you tell me.
Right. No, in that case, well, in most of the legal positions that I would have been applying for, there is some kind of market that's established. There's a range. So let's say it's between 150 and 250. I would probably throw out 200 and say that I hope there's a bonus structure in place. I hope there's other ways of compensating if I do a great job. Now, if you are going to a field where there's absolutely no established salary, where it could be anything from 30,000 to 800,000, then you have to kind of like throw out a number that you think internally makes sense to you, and emphasize that, again, the starting salary is less important than opportunities for growth.
There's a way to talk around a lot of these things.
Yes.
Yeah, well, so I guess what would be from the employer's perspective, like, can you give too high of a number where they're just going to eliminate you, or do you think as the employer, if it's somebody that you want,
No.
an employee you want, you're going to at least come back and say, look, we can't pay you this. We really want to have you, and then maybe they throw out the sweetener of like, we think that you would have a lot of potential for growth, et cetera. Or can you actually screw yourself over by saying, I
You
want
cannot.
this?
No, you can't. And here's
So
what
it's better to aim higher.
it is. It's only bad to aim high if you say something that's so high that you seem like a clown. Like, let's say you're applying for a job as a video editor at TYT, and your demand is $650,000. Then you're just a delusional fool and you're out.
And that has nothing to do with what you're asking
Yeah, everything
for.
you say after that, I don't even hear. I'm just thinking you're a crazy person. You're bye. But if it's within a range, but high, that's okay, because as an employer, you want the best person, and then you would go back and say, listen, we like you the best. We want to hire you, but your salary requirement is too high. Are you flexible on that? And if they say yes, then you negotiate a price that's
the thing.
that's
How do
workable.
you have to come with such a confidence that, oh yeah, I'm the only one they want. I mean, sometimes maybe there's 4 people that are just as good as you, and you're like, oh, the one thing that there's the smallest things. We all know that. The smallest things decide those things. Like with the moving thing, the first part was, oh, I don't want the smallest things where they say, oh, he's a little high. This guy's just right. They're both about the same as far as the qualifications. I'll take that guy. I don't even ask about lowering this guy's range. He'll get his 90,000.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's definitely a danger, but that's a risk you have to
that's the
take.
risk.
Yeah, and you have to be, you can't be too greedy, but you shouldn't sell yourself too short either.